Radio, cultivating mature positivity, the People Station.
Give me 1 second. I'm coming. Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome back to Parenting with Purpose. I am your host, Donna Janel, where I strive to bring back the responsibility, nobility, and beauty back into parenting. Yes, I said beauty. I know it's kind of hard to think about beauty in parenting, but that's what it is. It is messy and it's beautiful at the same time. You ever have something that's really messy and beautiful at the same time? Well, that's what it is. Parents, that's what we have going on. I'm sorry. All right, so I'm paying attention now. I kind of had to share that on social media. So people were waiting to see the live stream. All right, so tonight what we're going to talk about is something that is I've kind of been touching about this, over the last couple shows. We've been kind of digging into it a little bit, not as much because of just different things, but I kind of wanted to go back into it, right? So tonight, I'm topping this thing right now. Right now, after I write it up a little bit, it might change different. But what my whole goal tonight of the show is, it's Mother's Day, y'all. Mother's Day is coming up this Sunday. Shout out to all the mothers in the place. Mothers do a great job. Mothers sacrifice. But I wanted to talk about a different side of mothering. And that is kind of like, I want to dismantle the notion that mothers are superheroes or mothers have to be superheroes. That kind of sounds crazy because it's like, yo, I am my child's superhero. I am a superhero. But like, who told you had to be a superhero, right? And I'm only saying that not based on just my experience, but just talking to a bunch of mothers and parents. Like, we kind of struggle all with the same type of things that we're going to get into tonight. But, there's like this notion out there that we have to be the superhero. We have to be the sacrifice because we're mothers. Like, yeah, we giving birth to our kids and our children, and we sacrificed a whole lot, right, for them. But a lot of times we as mothers, we sacrifice so much where we deplete ourselves and then we're actually no good to our children, right? Now, that is like a mother's worst nightmare. How you don't want to be no good to your children, right? You want to be everything, all to end all to our children. However, a lot of times, because we are putting ourselves in like this superhero type position where like we seek for perfection in our mother, and that we end up depleting ourselves, right? And then depleting our self-care, depleting our self-worth. Like, there's so many things that we kind of drain out of us and that we don't restore ourselves with it, the things that was taken out of us, right? So then we don't really become effective with our kids or effective in parenting because we ain't got nothing. We like tired, exhausted, really just out here just existing, not actually living. Like we'll have the title and we'll do a little things for mothering, but we don't have the capacity to do it all or to do the things that we once did because we literally burnt ourselves out. And that's crazy. Like to think about, well, mothers burning herself out. Absolutely. Listen, I'm telling you, I'm not telling you something that I heard. I'm telling you something that I know. Like we literally put ourselves in a situation because we think that we're supposed to do, whether it's a traditional thing, a generational thing, whether we've seen it with our own parents, our own mothers, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, our aunts, our cousins, anybody that we looked up to or was before us. If we've seen it or if we've seen it on television or we see it around in a neighborhood, like this is what a mother's supposed to be. This is how a mother's supposed to, like society has deemed this way of mothering. And mothering is not a one-way thing. It is not just everybody is this robot type mother and everything is perfect. Like the dinner is in there at the same time every day. The kids are bathed the same time every day. It's not that type of world. But even still, like even the examples that we've seen, like I've never really seen of like mothers being shown how to do self-care or take time for themselves. It is like mothers, you are supposed to do everything for everybody, right? And that's not true. And that's actually not healthy. That's not balanced. That's not healthy. And eventually you begin to get burned out. And I don't know if you guys seen, there has been a lot of things going on with parents and children, particularly parents are becoming very burnt out where they're either committing suicide or taking their whole family out with them, a family suicide, because of the pressures of society or even the pressures that we put on ourselves, right? Not necessarily like depending on the children, the pressures that our children put on us, but a lot of times we train our children to do certain things, right? So a lot of times they just a reflection of how we feel or how we treat them or respond to them. So like it's literally us who, I feel like, especially I'm gonna speak for me. I feel like a lot of times I put pressure on my parenting for the craziest reasons though, like just so I can, because the way I was mothered, right? And the way that I felt in my perspective of how I was mothered really kind of had a significant impact on how I parent, right? Everybody says, I don't want to parent like my mom. Or then a lot of people say, I want to be just like my mom, right? Depending on how you were raised, right? And I think that what happens is that puts so much pressure on us, right? Like, you don't want to be just like somebody, right? You want to take some of the good things that, and then the things that wasn't so good so that you can kind of create your own individuality of how you parent. But then you don't want to say, I don't want to be anything like that person, as if that mother just had no impact on your life. But at the same time, you want to create your own narrative, right? Your own walk, your own motherhood. So I want y'all to part with me tonight because I had all my notes written down, right? And I had all my papers out and I left my papers on my bed. So I had my 18-year-old take a picture of all my papers. So I'm kind of like, don't really understand my own handwriting a little bit because I had a little bit of notes. So bear with me tonight. We're going to talk about some stuff. All right. So tonight we're going to explore strategies to overcome perfection and celebrate our individuality while empowering ourselves to thrive and create a positive impact in our lives and fostering a culture of self-love and self-acceptance. And I know we talk a lot about self-love and self-acceptance, but it's a real thing because I kind of feel like that if you really don't love yourself, it is so difficult for you to say that you love somebody. Like you may do some love actions, but you can't give what you don't have, period. We can't give what we don't have. And we can fool ourselves. We can try to make ourselves think that we can give what we don't have. Like if you're not accepting yourself, that trickles down to you're not accepting your children for the way they are or who they are, even other relationships in our lives, right? And we try to sugarcoat this stuff and we try to cover it up. But the reality of it is that if you don't have self-love and you don't have self-acceptance, it is really literally impossible for you to be able to give that to someone else, to be able to accept someone else for their authenticity. I gotta drink some water, y'all. And I'm talking so fast, but accept someone else for who they are, who they show up to be, who they are individually as a person. And it's kind of difficult to really accept them if you really have qualms and not even be able to accept yourself, right? So we're gonna talk about that a little bit, right? So one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I know everybody has mom guilt, right? Mom guilt is one of the biggest things that we suffer from, right? And mom guilt is not a mental disorder, y'all. It is not something wrong with us because we feel guilty of all these different things as a mom, right? But it is real. Mom guilt is real. And sometimes, like, it gets hard because as a mom, we want the best for our children, right? We don't want our children to go through any harm, hurt, pain, right? But in reality, like, they have to. But as a mom, I think that's kind of that complex thing where I don't want nothing bad to happen to you. I don't want you to feel hurt and pain. So I'm going to cover all this for you. I'm going to kind of try to fix all the broken pieces. I'm going to try to do everything. And that's where we come in as a superhero, right? Like, oh, I'm coming in to save the day. Let me come save the day so you don't feel any hurt, so you don't feel any pain. But in reality, they have to, because how are they going to be in touch with their emotions, right? A lot of times it's because we don't ourselves want to feel any hurt and pain. So we kind of jump in and try to avoid situations and circumstances that's going to cause some type of emotion or some type of where we feel like we may not be able to self-regulate because we're angry or upset, we're frustrated. But emotions are emotions, y'all. Like, they're not good or bad. They're just what they are. And we can't shelter our children from things that's going to happen to them. Because in the real world, let me tell you, we send our kids outside, and if we don't pour into them and let them learn mistakes at home, when they get out in the world and they make them big mistakes, let me tell you, the world is not nice with them. At least we can do it with some grace, right? We can do it with some grace and some love and try to cover them as best as we can. But if we don't allow them to be able to feel some type of pain or now I'm not talking about we going around and says intentionally you're going to be in pain. Not at all, because I don't want you to do that to me, right? But what I'm saying is that life be lifing out there, right? And things happen. Our children are dealing with so many things. We are dealing with so many things. And to avoid all pain, all mistakes, is literally unreasonable. It doesn't make any sense, because I believe, now, I think a lot of y'all can agree with me, but I believe that a lot of trials and tribulations and struggles that we have really built us to who we are today. I can speak for myself. I went through hell and back, I'm trying to tell you. And I feel like every situation that I was in, whether I created it myself or whether it just happened because life be lifing, I've learned so many things so many lessons from the mistakes that I made, from the things like just experience and all. So I think that as moms, we try to withdraw all negative experiences from our children. And that's kind of what the superhero thing. When you ever think about superhero, right? You watch, now I'm not a big cartoon superhero type stuff. My kids are, like my son, my daughters, they're into all that. And I used to have a hard time sitting there and watching it with them, because I'm just like, this stuff ain't real. And it was like a disconnect, because I couldn't connect with them regarding this superhero stuff. But the more and more they kept watching it, I started to engage with them some, and I started to actually get some lessons out of it. And when you look at the superheroes, right, they come in and they're supposed to save the day. That's what the superheroes like. So there's a situation, there's maybe somebody's being unkind to the person, so they come in and says, don't do that to them, kind of rescuing them from that. Or if they're in some type of danger, like they come and they holding up buildings, right? You see them holding up buildings, they exploding buildings, they grabbing a rope for you to grab on so you won't drown. Like, it's all these different things that these superheroes do, right? They literally give themselves and sacrifice yourself. Have you noticed, like, all these superheroes are almost dying, though? They literally be dying trying to save someone else, right? And as a mom, I don't want to die to try to save my children. Like, I don't want to do that, right? I used to think I had to, but in reality, like, if I'm dead, how I'm going to help them? So when you look at all these superheroes, right, I went back and I started looking at it. I was like, yo, every superhero there was this thing where they felt like they had to be the sacrifice, right? And they had to go in and save the day. That's not our job as mothers. Our job is like, and who told us that was our job? Like, who said, Donna, you need to be the superhero? No, Donna made that up on myself, or based on what I see other people do and how they sacrifice. And you're not a real mom unless you lose something, just different type of talks. Like, and it's like, no, it ain't even got to be that way. So a lot of times we look at society, we see movies, we see how people raise their children, and we try to mimic them. Now, there's some things that we should take away from things because experience is the best teacher, right? So if you experience something and you want to teach me or show me how you got over the situation, because y'all know that these kids be out here testing our inner gangster. And I'm telling you, they do. So sometimes you be having a woosah moment and you don't know what to do. Like, you be calling God, you be calling everybody else so that you don't lay hands on this kid or you don't like really do something terrible. So it's good to like have conversations with other parents and see how they were able to navigate them. But our job is not to be that other mom or be that other parent. That's not our job. Our job is to find out how it works for us individually in our own household and with our own children, right? So I talk about guilt, right? I feel like it's complex and it's not a mental disorder, right? I talk about, so a lot of times we're battling with one of the reasons why we're battling with anxiety and depression is because we can't fulfill or we can't fix our children, or we can't fulfill a need that we feel like we're supposed to. So then we start getting the guilt, right? And then we start getting like anxious and we start getting depressed because, I can't fulfill that. But instead of just looking at the thing holistically, like, listen, you're not perfect. Motherhood is a challenge. Listen, life is a challenge. I'm like, pause. We ain't even gonna go to motherhood yet. Just being a human is a challenge. Being a person is a challenge because we're mixed with so many different emotions and so many things that be coming at us, life be coming at us different ways, right? So then you add on motherhood with that because now you're responsible for another human. Now, I was responsible for me and there was a challenge, right? Now I'm responsible for another human and me. Another human plus me. And then if you have multiple kids, like I have 4, I'm responsible for me and I'm responsible for 4 other children, 4 other humans. That is like a huge responsibility to be responsible for myself and others. And the thing about that is that because we have like this motherly cape on and we don't just become a mother to our children, right? We become a mother to our friends. We become a mother to family members. Like we become that person, right? That superhero in everybody's life because we've learned how to try to be a superhero in our children's life. And people start seeing that. So then they start pulling on us and we don't really know how to say no because we think we got to save everybody or save the world. I don't know who told us we were supposed to do that, but somehow a lot of us has adopted this mindset of, I need to be able to save you, and I think a lot of it comes from, we have pure hearts. We have loving, caring hearts. And like for me, my love language is serving. I love to serve people. I love to help people get from one place to the other. If you're having some troubles, I like to be the one to come in and help you, right? But at what cost though? Like, I like to be the one that come help you. I ain't supposed to be the one that come do it for you, right? Because that's what superheroes is. They don't be helping. They literally go in there and save the day. Oh, a building fall. Not you hold the building up yourself. It's like, I'm going to come in. The building's falling on you. I'm going to push this building up so you could go run away and do whatever you need to do. Not teaching you how to push the building up yourself. Not teaching you how to navigate through these things so that just in case it happened again, right? That you'll be able to do it. Because if we don't learn how to handle life and situations, we're going to always expect somebody come here to save the day. Somebody come in to be the superhero. So we kind of play that part in the lives of other people, right? So when I talk about mom guilt, right? One of the things I have on here is that that we want to, and I said it earlier, like we want to show up in people's lives, right? We want to show up. We want to be We don't want people to feel hurt and pain. We don't want people to be have discomfort. Because we know how it feels for ourselves, right? To have discomfort, to have hurt and pain, and we don't want that for anybody else, right? But there are some times where you just cannot show up physically, emotionally, mentally for somebody else because you can't even show up for yourself. And I said earlier, if you can't do it for yourself, you really cannot do it for anyone else. We try to sugarcoat it. We try to ignore ourselves and go outside of ourselves to help somebody, but we really don't do it effectively. We really don't do it effectively because at the end of the day, after I come help you, after I come in here to be this superhero, like I gotta be restored because I done already almost died trying to help you, trying to save you, and I'm sitting over here depleted. So I just wanted to we really just dismantle that whole notion that I'm a mom, I'm not a superhero, right? One of the things that I had down here, right? It says, your perfect image of motherhood leaves room for, here we go. So our perfect image of motherhood never leaves room for mistakes because we think that we have to have it all together, right? But mistakes are going to happen. Newsflag. Mistakes are going to happen. I'm going to say it again. Mistakes are going to happen because life be life and we're not perfect, right? We all struggle to be the best version of ourselves, yet many of us forget that the best version does not mean perfection. The best version of yourself does not mean perfection. So we all struggle I'm living my best life. I'm doing me. I'm being the best version of me. And the best version of us, sometimes we think that it leads to perfection. That is not perfection. The best version of ourselves is not perfection. That's not even how God created us to be. He didn't create us to be perfect in all. He's perfect in all his ways. I never read the scripture that said that you're perfect in all your ways, Donna, or Sheila, or Angela. I've never even, when in the Bible, when they talk about the Proverbs 31 woman, there's nothing in that scripture said that she was perfect. It literally talks about how she was able to run her household, how she was able to mother, how she was able to be a wife. It never said that she was perfect, right? So we get that notion things have to be perfect, and it's just that's ridiculous. And I'm telling you, I used to think that way, and I'm growing and I'm growing and I'm growing because I used to think that way. And I did a lot of sacrificing early in my parenting because I thought I had to. I thought that's what I was supposed to do because I didn't see that growing up. So I was I'm going to give my kids everything that they don't have. It's crazy. I used to be I don't want my kids to suffer. I don't want my kids to feel pain. I don't want my kids to have to want for anything. I don't want my kids, it was literally me saying, I don't want my kids to live. It was me saying in so many words, I don't want my kids to be kids, or I don't want my kids to be human, or I don't want, in so many words, that's basically what I was saying. I want everything to be perfect for them, but how does that work? And how does that look like as they're growing and learning how to have other relationships and learning how to self-regulate and things like that if we do everything for them, right? So being our best means being able to process and manage our emotions. Like I said, I talk a lot about self-regulation, right? Listen, there's times we all get upset, we all get frustrated. And I'm always all right, what coping mechanism I'm going to use today? Because I need some downtime. I need some peace. I need some quiet. I'm overstimulated. There's too much going on. And I think sometimes because we play that superhero role, we don't admit that it's hard, it's frustrating, it's challenging, and that we're overstimulated. A lot be going on. And we feel if, as a mom, sometimes mothers feel if they express themselves of they're overstimulated, they don't know how to be a mom, or they perceive to be weak as a mother. So we put on this cape and this superhero thought that I got it. No, girl, sit down. Go put your feet up. Go take a rest. Can you soak your feet? Go take a shower, turn some music on, put some candles in there, and close the door and go sit down. You don't have to be everywhere all the time. Just don't do it. And like I said, this has happened over time. I have 4 children, and I've learned, and I'm still learning that although I want to sometimes put this superhero thing on, I have to realize, Donna, you're a mom. You're not a superhero. So we have to think about that. And also our best version of ourselves understands that we will make mistakes along the way. So instead of feeling guilty for making mistakes, we should instead feel like encouraged to make better choices next time. Listen, we need to understand that things happen. We're not perfect. So if I make a mistake, all right, next time it's crazy. We'll tell our kids, right? You'll get them next time, or you'll be better next time. We give our kids so much grace sometimes, and we don't even give ourselves that grace. Again, like I told you, like it's kind of crazy how we can give advice or encourage somebody else, but we won't do it for ourselves. Like, it doesn't make sense because, like, are you not worthy of the same thing that you're giving out? Like, as moms, I feel like subconsciously, like, we think that we're not enough or worthy of the love and care that we're putting out, or the self-regulation, or the self-care, than the next person. It's almost like we think that everybody else is important and we are the sacrifice, and that we can give everybody else everything, but then we don't want to give it to ourselves. Like, been there and done that. Listen, I got the t-shirt and the hat. I don't want no more accessories. I'll be praying to God, say, God, please don't take me back there where I don't believe in self-care. Like, don't take me back where I put everybody before me, because that's what moms that we do. But learning that, Donna, Janelle, you are important. You are enough. You're beautiful. You need to accept yourself. Like, you're okay. And that you don't have to do all these different things to bring value to yourself, or to say that your parenting is top notch. Let me tell y'all something. I do this podcast, Parenting with a Purpose. I speak all over the place for Parenting with a Purpose. I do coaching sessions for Parenting with a Purpose. Let me tell you something. I'm not the perfect parent. Girl, listen, if y'all know what goes on in my household with this parenting stuff, a lot of my material comes from my kids, I'm trying to tell you. So don't think that I'm the perfect parent and that that nothing goes haywire in my household. That is absolutely the opposite, let me tell you. But the thing about it is that I'm okay with the way it goes sometimes. I've become so much more flexible, and I'm learning how to pivot in this parenting thing, that I no longer beat up myself for a mistake. I no longer try to micromanage my kids. I no longer try to control my kids because maybe there's some things I didn't control of myself in their life, or fear that if I don't control them, they're going to go down the wrong path, or if I don't control them, they're not going to do the right thing, or if I don't control them, like, they're just going to bounce. There are so many different things, in parenting, that the reason why we do things. But I used to be that parent with just like every move that my kid made, I would be right on them. Or, I expressed before, like, I did so much for my kids where I was making sure that they had lunch. Like, my kids was not eating any fast food. Like, and I'm not saying that everybody should feed their kids fast food. I'm not saying that. What I'm not saying is that. But I felt like me as a mom need to give them the best healthy option. And the only way to do that for me to do it myself. But I was working. I was cooking. I was clean. I was doing everything myself. But I was doing it so much where it literally became like not as enjoyable. It was like a chore, or I had to do it. Now, the way that I perceive my parenting, the way I look at it is like, I get the opportunity to do A, B, and C, or I get the opportunity to drive you to school, or if I get the opportunity to cook you dinner. Now, I don't cook dinner as much anymore. Let me tell you, these kids are older. The three that are home, 16 and 18, let me tell you something. They out here cooking for themselves. Because I did all that, and I'm wore out, and I'm burnt out, y'all. I'm burnt out from all that cooking and stuff, packing their lunch and putting all these little notes and stuff in there, and making sure that they friends had lunch. And oh my God, it was so much I was doing in this parenting thing. And it was good for them because they were able to see it. But eventually, like, your heart can't beat fast for so long. Like, you can't be tachycardia for so long. Like, you can't keep going and don't think you're going to break. Like, that's not even how we're built. That's not how anything is built. They always tell you, even when you have a car, let it rest. You have certain machines, let it rest. You have a body, let it rest. You have a brain, let it rest. So that superhero notion that I had is that I had to do A, B, and C, right? And the crazy thing is, like I said, ain't nobody tell me I had to do it. It was my own mind and my own thinking that I had to, because of where I was in life. I wasn't healed from my childhood experiences, right? So I thought that I had to be this perfect mom. So again, like, we just have to like take a step back and really evaluate how we're parenting, how we're showing up for ourselves. Like, I talk about, like, even though this is parenting with a purpose, and the goal is, to bring back the responsibility, nobility, and beauty back in parenting, and knowing that we as parents are bows and our children are arrows, right? And they will land wherever we send them eventually. But where are we landing at too? Like, what are we doing for ourselves? Because I've been in this parenting game for about 25 years now, and I'm learning and understanding is that you can't give what you don't have. Like, we could dress it up, we could try to do this and try to do that, but if you're not like healing from your wounds, we're bleeding over our children. Now, it may not show up right now, but eventually it'll show up as they go out and pursue their own life and careers, and they start dealing with stuff and they're not sure how this happened. Well, that was part of their raising, a part of them being grown up, right? How we're raising them. And sometimes we don't see the effect right away. But like, even now with my daughter 25, I look back on, I was a young mom. I got married at 19. I had a baby 19, bought a house, like this, started a career. Like, it was so much pressure, right? And there was things in parenting I did out of fear. I'm telling you, there was so many things I did out of fear. Like, I just don't want to be like my mom. I don't want my child to grow up and feel the way I felt. And a lot of times with that came micromanaging, and that did not allow her to find out who she was. It was who I wanted her to be. And we should never raise our children of who we want them to be. We should raise our children of their uniqueness and who God say that they are and what they want to explore in their life. A lot of us as parents, like, we want to jump in and just say A, B, and C. And it's like, no, Mom, I want to do E, F, and G. Like, I don't want to do A, B, and C. Oh, you going to do it because this is what I said. That's that control stuff, right? So as parents, as mothers particularly, like, we carry a lot of weight, and a lot of the weight that we don't really have to carry. Like, we can really pass that off to someone else, or like tap into our village, like build a village and tap into it, utilize our resources so that we don't become overwhelmed, overstimulated, and burnt out. I think as mothers, it's okay to ask for help. Listen, I ain't got it today. Listen, the capacity ain't here today. I ain't got it today. And I don't think I'm going to have it today. So don't try to push me, because it's just not there. Now, I'm not saying that like certain things that you don't need to push yourself for, but some things it's just like, get somebody else to do it. I'm just not going to do it. Sorry. But I'm really not sorry that I'm not going to do it, because then it makes it seem like I'm wrong for saying no. No is a complete sentence, and no don't need no explanations. Listen, I don't have it. Sometimes my daughter that tests my inner gangster, right? Like, she'll come in the room or whatever, and I'll engage in a conversation with her, but then she'll do something or be a little sassy or something like that, and I just be like, nah, I'm not engaging in this conversation. But mine, listen, no, I can't do it. Because now I know my capacity, y'all. I'm understanding my capacity. Nah, this conversation not for me. And then she would proceed to just keep talking. I'm like, nah, you have to leave my room. And she was like, you don't want to talk to me. Kids try to manipulate you. You don't want to talk to me. No, actually, I don't want to engage in this conversation right now. And the old me would have felt so bad that I wasn't there listening to exactly what she had to say. But the new me, I don't have the capacity for that. I'll talk to you later. Give me my moments. And I sometimes remind her, though, it'd be so funny because I told y'all, she the kid that says when she get in the house, she need a 45-minute break before she do any chores, before she engage in anything. She need to go in her room for 45 minutes and take some self-time. All right. So sometimes I say to her, listen, I let you get your self-time. I need my self-time. Like when you tell me you need a break, I don't be in your room, keep talking. I give you your break. And after your 45 minutes, we're talking again. So I want the same thing in response. But kids, they don't understand that. They still be trying to force their will on us and everything. Nah, I don't have the capacity to it. And I'm okay with that. I don't feel guilty about it no more. And you shouldn't feel guilty. Like, if you don't have it, you don't have it. Again, you can't give what you don't have. And we try to give, but we can't. Like, let's be real. I ain't got it. And it's okay. So I think a lot of our parenting is trial and error. I think a lot of our children growing up is trial and error. Like, you don't know something don't work until it don't work, right? You don't know that this is probably not the best thing to do until it don't work. But then you don't beat yourself on it. Like, all right, that didn't work out that way. Let's try another way, you know? But we get into these little things where we think that because it didn't work, it's not going to ever work, or I messed up, or I'm a failure because that didn't work. No, that's a different kid and it just didn't work. So trial and error. I think trial and error are like the qualities that makes us great. Like the things that we go to really helps us and makes us great. And it looks different on everyone. And I think that's how God created us, to be all unique and all different. Because honestly, I think about, I watch some of them shows, and I don't know if you guys have watched some of them shows where the house is the same, the wife wearing the same dress, the same hairstyle, the husband wearing the same clothes, the children, everything's the same. They all talking the same. They're all walking the same. Everybody in the neighborhood has the same cars. Like, that's a boring life. I think, remember that show, It's a Wonderful Life? But I think, like, if everybody was the same and everything was the same and have no variability, like, that would be boring. Like, even though trials and errors happen, but some of this stuff is kind of a little exciting. Like, ooh, it's a challenge. Ooh, let me figure out how I'm gonna navigate this, right? But if everything was the same, like, I look at some of them shows, it's like, I don't want to live in that neighborhood. I don't want to cook that for dinner. Everybody had roast that night. I don't even eat roast. I don't like roast. So why I'm gonna pretend and try to be like everybody else? And that takes away from your uniqueness of what God created us to be. Like, he created us to be different. He created us to be unique and not looking like someone else, right? So when we start to like mimic or think that we have to mimic parenting, we have to look like this parent over there, or we got to look like that parent over there. Our children got to look like this or look like that. Now, listen, them days are over. I encourage you to throw those days in the trash. Like, don't look back for them no more. Like, just keep it moving, because causes so much stress, anxiety, depression, right? So I talked about how, like, even in parenting, like, our responses are different than other parents. Like, although, like, I do coaching, right? Parenting coaching, like, although I speak about parenting, although I'm on a podcast every week about parenting, I never tell people parent the same way. Do what's best for you and your household. Each kid is different. Each parent is different. As a mom, like, I'm different than my sister. I'm different than my mom. I parent different than my friends. Like, but I'm not going to devalue of how you are because it's different from me. Now, I'm going to try to seek to understand versus me being understood, because understanding that, listen, it's hard for me. But I don't want parents to think that we're all supposed to be the same, look the same, act alike. That's just not, it's not even possible. Like, unless you're in the movies, right? It's not even realistic. And you could beat yourself up to try to make it happen, but you're going to have some problems, emotional problems, some mental problems. And ultimately, it's going to be some physical problems with yourself if you try to be perfect, if you try to perfect it. Like, I tell people, I'm not like the perfect parent, but I'm perfect for my kids. So God's given me them. So the way that he made me, he know how I'm supposed to parent. And I always ask him, listen, these your kids. Tell me what you want to do with them. Because right now, be a fence around me, because they testing my inner gangster. So a lot of times, honestly, y'all, I talk to God and be like, help me understand what I'm not understanding. Is it me, Lord? I'm standing in the need of prayer. A lot, I say a lot. I'm telling you, I talk to God every day, all day, because having 4 kids and literally just being responsible for myself, like there's a lot goes on at the same time, and you gotta figure out who's on first, who's on second, who's on third, who's on fourth. Am I even on the plate here? Like it just be so much going on. So if I don't have a conversation with God, it won't go too well, y'all. I wouldn't be here every week. It wouldn't go too well. So this is one of the other things that I was talking about. I wrote here, you cannot save anyone. And you cannot save anyone, and you're not required to, right? We're not required to go save anybody. Again, we're not required to be a superhero. We're required to live the best that we can, help and encourage and motivate people, teach them how to come out of situations and circumstances as our children, teaching them how to grow. But a lot of the things teaching our children how to grow is us learning how to grow ourselves, right? So you're not required to save anybody. Like I used to think, I'm telling you, I don't know where it came from. Oh, I know where it came from. Because I felt like I wasn't saved through a lot of trials and tribulations growing up. I felt like people weren't there for me. So I felt like I had to be there for people. So that's where that superhero came from, y'all. I just thought back on it. Because I felt I didn't have a superhero in my life, I wanted to be other people's superhero. I wanted to be the one to show up when nobody shows up for that person. I want to be the one that make sure that you don't have to deal with what I dealt with. But who told me to do that, right? Who told me to take on the world? Nobody told me to do that. I did it because I wasn't healed from my past trauma of growing up and nobody showing up for me. I thought I had to show up for people. Like, we don't want to do that. And that's why it's so important to try to figure out the root why we behave, because every behavior has a root. A lot of times we start addressing the leaves or the branches, right? But we never get to the root of the issue. And you can address that branch, you can address that leaves, and branches and leaves, they fall off, right? But the root remains. So, and what happens is that stuff fall off and that root produces more fruit, right? So then you got this fruit that's out there, the same thing that fell off is back on you again because you never addressed the root. So sometimes, I'm not even going to say sometimes, we really seriously need to do a self-evaluation, look back over our life and say, okay, why do I behave this way? Why do I do this thing? And figure out, like I just now, I figured out why I tried to be a superhero. Before I couldn't understand. I remember my therapist asked me, why do you feel like you got to do everything for everybody? And I used to be like, I don't know. I just feel like I do. He used to be like, so you think everybody else is worth what you have to offer and you're not worth any of that? And I was like, I never say I wasn't worth nothing. So what are you talking about? So I'm getting smart, right? But I think I kept thinking about it. It was like, well, the way I'm behaving, it would appear that I didn't think I was worth anything, worth the care and compassion and the grace and the love, everything that I was pouring out to people. Apparently, I didn't realize that subconsciously, I didn't feel like I needed that myself. Again, I didn't know where it came from. For years, they kept asking me, like, why do you do this or why you do that? I'm like, I don't want this person to feel pain. I don't want this person to fall. I don't want this person this, and I don't want this person that. And I never understood why, like, root-based why. But now, just talking to you guys, I really just realized that because I didn't have somebody show up for me in my life, I thought that I had to show up for everyone. And that's why my parenting was so intentional, that I show up for my kids, but showing up for my kids so aggressively, and it was just so much that I didn't show up for myself, right? So we want to show up for our kids, but we want to show up for ourselves too. Like, we can do both, right? We can be intentional with our living, because it's crazy. Like, we want the best for our kids, but do we not want the best for ourselves? And the best for ourselves is showing up for ourselves, self-care, self-acceptance, falling back, taking a deep breath, understand our capacity. Like, we understand our kids' capacity, right? So why not understand our own capacity? But I think, again, because mothers are always in go mode. Like, it's like, I had this kid, I gotta go. I gotta do. I gotta do. No. Nobody told you to do that. I'm here to tell you, ain't nobody tell you to do that. And honestly, ain't nobody watching you, like, saying that, oh, you're a terrible mom because you ain't show up at the kids' basketball game today, but you showed up at the other 4 games. Okay. Oh, you couldn't pick your kid up from school today, but you picked your kid up 60 days in a row. Like, ain't nobody saying you're a terrible mom. And if they are, do you care? I know I'm not a terrible mom. I'm tired. I'm a tired mom, y'all. I'm tired. I'm not terrible. I'm tired. Wrong T. Come on, let's get it right. So I think a lot of our parenting and motherhood is really understanding who we are and really what we're capable of in our power. And then that literally resonate, and then it pours on our children, and it becomes if we really get it together, we can teach our children not to overcompensate or be overdriven and try to be the superhero. And it's crazy because I was talking to my kids, and me starting to learn that no, it's a complete sentence. I'm teaching my children, like, listen, if it don't feel right, don't taste right, you're not comfortable, no, period. You don't have to explain yourself. It's just no. If you're in a friend group, especially my girls, they're older, and, you know, girls be having all this stuff going on, like my 18-year-old. I don't like how that person makes me feel. Okay, have a conversation with that person, and if that behavior don't change, it's okay. You're young. You got to learn now so that you don't carry these relationships and think that you have to be this way. Like, it's just not, because then you'll be like me, 44, talking about, well, where was the root of that cause? Like, why are these branches dying? Why the fruit is getting eaten up? And then we got more fruit, and it's the same thing because I never addressed the root, right? Another thing I wrote on here is, I already said it, like, we have to give ourselves the same grace we give our kids, and the same grace we give our friends. The same, like, we tolerate certain things from people, but then when it comes to us, we don't tolerate stuff from ourselves. Like, and it don't even be the deepest things. Like, I forgot to, example, I forgot to lock the door one night. And I woke up in the morning and the door was unlocked. And I was so mad at myself. Like, I was like, Donna, why would you do that? Why would you leave the door unlocked all night? Like, and I didn't put my alarm right because I was so tired, right? I came in and I literally passed out. And the next morning, I realized my alarm wasn't on, the kids wasn't home, and it was just me and the door was unlocked. Like, I was so hard on myself. I was like, why would you? I'm telling y'all, I was so mad at myself for not. I was like, you don't think your safety is important? Like, if your kids was here, you would have locked the door. If your kids was here, your alarm, you would have made sure your alarm was on. And I was like, wait a minute. Why am I so hard on myself from a mistake that I made? I was tired and it happened. Thank God that he covered me, that nothing happened to me. Can I just rejoice that nothing happened to me? Why do I have to beat myself up? But that's what we do as moms. And it's not necessary. It really, I'm telling y'all now, save yourself from yourself, right? Save yourself from yourself, because we just, man, I'm telling you, I've been through some stuff and I'm just like, yo, there's some stuff that I've done and said to myself that was like, I wouldn't said that to my kids, or I wouldn't have did that to my kids. And it's like, why would I do that to myself? So I'm telling y'all, save yourself from yourself. Get some help. A village. Get a therapist. Like, address the issues that you didn't even really realize there were issues until you start thinking about some stuff. It's like, okay, what is the root cause of that? Talk to somebody, a close friend. Let's try to figure this out. What is the root cause of that so that we don't produce that kind of fruit anymore? What else? We're almost done here, y'all, too, which is amazing that I actually was sitting here talking this long. One of the things that people know that I am rigid when it comes to scheduling, right? Again, this is something I did early on because there's so many things I wanted to do, right? And I had adopted the fact that, like, I was scheduling, but my schedule is like hour by hour, y'all. Or if it's 15 minutes here, 30 minutes, it is literally written down. And I'm proud to say over the last 3 weeks, I kind of eased up on my schedule. Like, I still schedule stuff, but it's no longer hour. Like, I was spending so much time doing my schedule, y'all. It was hour by hour. And I did not leave any room for mistakes or emergencies or urgencies, right? It was everything. I mean, to the point I had the time I was taking a shower, the time I was spending with my kids, the time I was going to do some coloring, the time I was traveling. Like, I'm telling you, I had everything written down. Schedule is good, but don't OCD it. Don't do too much. So one of the things in this parenting journey that I'm learning is that I need to be flexible, and that flexibility isn't an option. It's a necessity. Like, we really have to be flexible with ourselves and flexible with our children, just in case anything arises. And I'm not saying that we want bad stuff to happen, or, I mean, just the smallest thing. Traffic is longer, like, there's an accident. I didn't put that in my schedule. I don't think anybody put accidents in their schedule, but I didn't put it in my schedule. So now I'm behind. Now I'm frustrated and I'm overwhelmed and like anxious and everything because I didn't know it was going to be an accident. Well, Donna, you don't know everything. So when I talk about being flexible, flexibility is just not it's not an option. Like, it is a necessity, because it also, as mothers, we're teaching our children to be flexible too, to be able to pivot when we need to, right? Not everything is going to be, again, we talked about that whole everything is the same all the time, look the same way. That's not how life really is, unless you're in the movies. And if y'all seen some of these movies lately, they ain't even showing that anymore. It's some ratchet stuff out there, y'all. It's some crazy stuff. But they not even showing, like, the movies I grew up on, it's like those movies that maybe say, listen, I don't want to be a robot. But now there's some other crazy stuff. But that's another show. We'll talk about that. Your needs are just as important as our family needs, right? Your needs are just as important as your friends' needs. Your needs are just as important as your children's needs. And I know that seems like that's hard to swallow as a mom. I'm going to admit, been there, done that. I didn't think my needs were that important. I'm like, oh, I could sacrifice, or I could wait for me later, or I could do this later. No. Nope. I'm telling y'all parents right now who have young children, who are early in the parenting game, who are mid-range in the parenting game, or who are even seasoned parents, you can still help. You can still get help. Listen, your needs are just as important as everybody else's needs. Say it with me. My needs are just as important as everybody else's needs. I matter. So we have to, again, dismantle the notion of that we have to be superheroes. Listen, I'm a mom. I'm not a superhero, period. And I don't want to raise my children to be superheroes either. It's good to watch them on TV. It's good to see, stuff. But in reality, I don't want my children to live as superheroes, because I don't want them to sacrifice themselves so much where they die for somebody else. No. Now, when I talk about like dying, I mean physically dying. Like, we could die to our ways. Like, oh, Donna, you shouldn't have an attitude. Like, you need to die that attitude. You need to kill that attitude. Your character needs to be some things on your character needs to be shedded off or something like that. You need to be having some pruning. You need to get back on the powder wheel. Those things I get. But when you physically saying, listen, I want to take the weight of the world, the building is falling on top of your head, I'm going to jump in and pull the building up, you going to run away, and now the building crushing on me and I'm dead? No to the no. Don't do it. Because ultimately, when something happens to you, who's going to raise your kids? When something happens to you, who's going to be there for you? Do you want the burden on your kids to take care of you because you decide to be a superhero? Nah, that ain't what it is. This ain't where it's at. Get somebody else to do it. This is not where it's at. So I'm going to leave you guys tonight with this. I'm wrapping up here. I'm glad you guys tuned into the podcast, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, all the grandmothers, anybody raising children that's not biologically yours. You adopted, you foster, you are responsible for the women. You are responsible for the upbringing of someone else's child, your child, this child, neighborhood child. You're a mother, period. No matter how you slice it, you're a mother. So kudos to you. Keep being great. Keep doing what you do. But remember taking that self-care, taking that time to yourself, and telling yourself, I am a mom, not a superhero. So thank you for tuning in to Parenting with a Purpose. I am your host, Donna Janel. It was great having a conversation, and enjoy your weekend. I'm out.